Those of you that are listening, this is the wonders of technology we're working through.
Okay, but here we are, three of us, huh? Holy Trinity. Hello, everyone.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, once more officially, another Frames Photography Circle evening, meeting, online event. With us in the room tonight, David Mark from a photo gallery in Germany. The photo gallery is called Taunus, and it's located in Bad Homburg, a little town in David, you will tell us which region it is. We will be talking today, or better, to put things better, Scott will be talking tonight because, I'm kind of shifting things over into Scott's hands tonight. Scott will be talking to David about running a photography gallery. You can already see it, behind David. This is his space. This is his photography gallery in the middle of Germany. He has been running it for a couple of years, and we will be, talking about challenges, about current, market challenges, physical location challenges of running a photography gallery. So I guess the best idea right now is, Scott, you are taking over.
Okay.
Everyone, once more, thank you for joining. We have quite a nice group in the room. I can see today's schedule. Scott and David having a conversation, David sharing his story, showing us around the gallery, right? David, this is also one of the parts of the plan tonight. And everyone, as usual, if you have any questions, you can be clicking on the raise your hand icon at the bottom of the screen. You can be typing into the chat window. It's on your right hand side on the screen. You choose the chat window over there, and you can start typing your questions into there. I will be monitoring everything. And you guys enjoy your conversation. I am now all ears. Huh? Hello there.
Thank you, Tomas. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you guys could join us. David, how are you doing today?
Good. It's with the middle of winter, but I think we have far less snow than you do, Scott, where you are. If Thomas, I think you have the presentation I sent because we couldn't get to sharing screens. Can you put up the first slide? I just want to show what this looks like from the outside and
David, hang on a second. Let me bring people up to speed here. Before we get man. I mean, because you are, in the photographer's universe, you are one of the most wanted people in the world, and one of the most mysterious people in the world. You run a gallery. You sit in the front door of something that every single one of us aspire to. And I mean, you weren't born as a gallery curator. We had the good fortune, you and I, of doing a podcast some time ago. And everybody, if you're watching this, I hope you go back to the Frames Magazine podcast page. You listen to the podcast because there's some great stories and great information there. But David, 38, almost 40 years in financial services and sales and stuff. You get to a point where it's almost mandatory retirement, and you're thinking, I'm not done yet. And so you make a left turn, and you got a long history in photography and theater. You decide to open a gallery, and there's just this little thing going on called COVID. So, I mean, how in the world did you make the decision? Just in your own heart and soul, to go from financial services to something you deeply, deeply love and open a storefront.
Thank you, Scott. Yes, it's a strange story. I'm a Brit. I've lived in Germany for 42 years. I came over from England to Germany for a job, stayed for a woman, but I don't have either of those now. And I was working in financial services in sales for many years, and there's quite a few parallels between running a gallery, working in amateur theatre, which I've done since I was a teenager, and working in a gallery. And what connects them all is that we basically spend most of our working lives telling stories. Mm-hmm. And it's about storytelling. I'm not the ultimate creative guy. I can't write novels or write plays. I know a bit about photography. But I can tell stories. I can tell other people's stories. And This is what I do in the gallery for photographers. Stories to me are completely essential and vital. This is nothing like going into a museum and seeing something on a wall and not having anyone around to tell you anything. It's kind of, you need to build some emotional connection. If you can, a rational connection as well, that's even better. But an emotional one comes first between an image and the potential customer. And you do that by understanding the photographer, understanding the photographer's personal history, and understanding the history behind the images. So to answer your question quickly, it's basically about storytelling. And the reason I'm doing this is because I was in financial services. I was on vacation doing a photography tour in California. It was in spring, nearly 4 years ago. My car went off the side of a mountain, and I woke up 3 days later, apparently unconscious in the hospital in Fresno. This led to, I suffered a heavy brain concussion, led to me leaving my job and deciding I was too young to retire, and therefore opening a gallery.
Oh, I did not know that bit about your history. That's both tragic and I guess wonderful because it led to a gallery. So you opened this gallery in Bad Homburg, and it's got an emphasis on story. Tell me, what is the difference between a gallery and a museum? You made that difference there in just a minute. Is it just the storefront nature of it? Is it the narrative nature?
It's primarily, one is here for commercial reasons, that's the gallery, and the museum is there as a museum, not for commercial reasons. And so I started this gallery not as a pensioner's hobby, but as a business. And so it is not my job to tell the history of art. It is my job to sell images. And there's a huge difference. Sometimes people come into the gallery and say, "Do I need to pay to come in?" I say, no. You need to pay before you go out, because we have to let you out until you buy something. But sometimes people don't understand the difference between a gallery and a museum. And well, it surprised me, but I can explain it very quickly. One is there for commercial reasons.
Yeah. So, well, okay, bring us up to speed with your gallery in particular. Give us the tour. Tell us about the space.
So what I can do is actually, if you don't mind, I will just lift up my laptop, walk to the front door, and just show you very briefly. This literally, it's just going to take a couple of minutes. So this is the front door. You can't see much. It's because it's dark outside. You come in. And I'm just sort of looking around the first room. Yeah, and I have to show you something here. You may recognize the most recent edition.
I know this book.
Well, the simple reason that is there is because it has an article about Daniel Denchescu, whose images we're looking at the moment. Mm-hmm. And I'm the first gallery Daniel has ever exhibited in. And I'm glad I put Daniel in touch with Tomasz. So there's more. This is obviously not by Daniel, by a local photographer who lives here. He's done a lot of black and white images of the Frisian Islands off the north coast of Germany. We're now going into the second room, where I currently have I didn't say before, I have a series of exhibitions called Monochrome Perspectives. Right. So they're various black and white photographers over a few months. And
these are featured on your website currently as well, everyone should know.
They're all on the website. All the photographers are on the website. All their images are on the website. We'll get to what the website is in a second when we put up the first slide of the presentation. Then the third room, these are images by Rachel Talibart, a very talented English lady who has an encyclopedic knowledge of mythology and has named all her images after mythological gods. And then on the last wall here, we have, this is all analog, 4x5 field cameras, 40-year-old Hasselblads, and not enough of them are on the wall, but that's all the wall space I have for the moment. So that was the very brief tour of the gallery, and now I'm back to sitting in front of you. Sorry, you've now got me to look at. I'm much more boring than the pictures. But... Okay, we're plugged back in now.
It is a beautiful, welcoming space, I think.
When I was looking for somewhere to run a gallery after I left work in financial services, this region, Bad Homburg, the small town, is 20 kilometers north of Frankfurt, so it's in the middle of Germany, and it has a relatively wealthy population in this area because the people who are on the boards of banks in Frankfurt, they all tend to live north and west of Frankfurt in this area, which is 200 meters higher up. The air is good, the water is good, we're surrounded by forest. And I looked at a few places in Bad Homburg and found this one, which was being redone, and I put up all the lighting. I've got good quality lighting here, which is amazing because I've sold images to some people who said, hey, listen, I'm a bit old. Can you come to my place and put it on the wall? And I've done that. And usually I find that people at home don't have, their lighting is not as good as it is here in the gallery. Right. But I can't change that. So my job is as a kind of, it's a caretaker, if you like. It's it's a caretaker and a storyteller. That's what I think is the essential bit about running a gallery. If my crystal ball had functioned better than anyone else's, and I had realized, I've only been running this gallery 2.5 years, if I had realized 3 years ago that we were still going to be talking about this stupid pandemic after 3 years, there's no way I would have opened a gallery. But my crystal ball didn't work better than anyone else's. And so I ended up running this gallery because I'd been doing the planning for a year before I opened it. And I'm determined to continue running it. I have a 5-year rental contract anyway, so I have another 2.5 years of that to go, at least.
So what are the challenges of running I mean, COVID is dying down. With any luck, people are coming back out. You know, both from the curatorial and the acquisition standpoint, and getting people to walk in the door, ready to buy. What are the challenges that you're facing?
The biggest single challenge that I face is getting enough people through the front door. I've done a lot of local marketing, and I didn't want to be in a larger town where there's one or two shops where all the galleries congregate. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be in an area which is surrounded by relative wealth, in the hope that I could persuade some of those people to come into the gallery here. It now seems that they would rather go to Munich or Düsseldorf or Berlin if they want to stay in Germany to buy art. So my biggest challenge is actually getting people through the door. Once they're here, it's easy to talk to them because I ask everyone coming into the gallery, hey, do you want to look around or shall I tell you stories? Because I know the photographers, I know them quite well, I know their personal stories, I know the stories behind their images. 90% of the people who come in say, tell me stories. Of those 90%, 100% tell me when they leave, wow, you can really make these images come alive and get that emotional connection going. And that's the place to start to get someone comfortable with spending some money. So above the gallery, there are some apartments. And about a year after I started running the gallery, one of the guys who lives upstairs, he comes down one day and he says to me, David, have you ever heard of something called the internet? And I said, actually, yeah, I've heard of it, yeah, a little bit. But I know what your next question is going to be, but maybe you haven't looked. I do have a website. But before you ask your next question, tell me when exactly was the last time you bought something for your own walls priced between 1,000 and 5,000 euros just because you had seen a picture on a small little mobile phone screen and you hadn't gone somewhere to smell it, touch it, lick it, feel it, hear it, and taste it. He said, well, I've never done that. I said, thank you. No further questions, please. So I think what you can do at a gallery is make something come alive. It's about much more than, if you're going to have a piece of art at home, you want to understand it, you want to smell it, touch it, feel it, hear it, see it. And that's what you can do in a gallery, make something come alive. And I know a bit about photography, so I decided to specialize. Some people come in and say, well, will you sell my sculpture or my painting? I said, no, because I don't really understand anything about them. And I do a little more about photography. I have only exhibited and sold live photographers whom I know personally or to whom I've got to know. I would find it difficult to start selling. I mean, yes, it would be wonderful if someone came along with a collection of Henri Cartier-Bresson images and said, will you sell these for me? I'd say, yes, of course. But I would actually want to get to know Henri Cartier-Bresson and the stories behind his images.
So if I can quickly jump in, I have a quick question here because you have a beautiful space, right? From what we have seen just now, where you're showing around. But of course, it's not a MoMA gallery in New York or something. So the amount of pictures or the amount of artists you can exhibit is limited, according to the size of your space. How do you exactly come up with the choices, of artists, based on which criteria, based on what kind of stories or connections? Because I can imagine, I mean, I'm dealing with a similar problem when it comes to, a limited space of pages in the magazine, right? So what are your criteria when it comes to really selecting the artists you want to be working with?
Good question, Thomas. Thank you. It has turned out to be much easier to find photographers than I assumed at the start, because you get a bit of publicity, there's a new gallery around, and so photographers get in touch because they see you as a gallery, as an additional sales vehicle. So I've been approached by lots of photographers. Some of them, and so what I have to do is catch myself, because I sometimes find I'm confusing my personal taste with what I think might sell. And that's why, I mean, you would have seen from the pictures that we looked at on the walls, it's all landscape, and not real landscape. I mean, there are seascapes, but it's not fashion photography. It's not sports photography. I have nothing against fashion photography or sports photography. There are some fantastic sports photographers. I use an example, the image, that really famous image of Muhammad Ali, where you have his fist really close to the camera and his face is in the background, something like that. And I say, well, it's a very famous photographer, it's a famous picture, but would I put that on the wall next to my dining room table? I'm not sure, because once I've looked at it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I found stuff that I want to see. I'm not going to go back to it over and over again and find new things, new questions to ask. And that's why I just kind of prefer artistic landscape photography to sports photography.
Just here, exactly. So it's kind of your choice about, you know, the kind of photography you're showing. But again, is it not the moment where you are kind of, you know, serving more kind of your interests and preferences, or are you really bouncing those ideas of the you know, tastes and heads and eyeballs of the visitors? Does it happen often that you discuss the kind of work they would like to be seeing, you know, on the walls of your gallery?
It's a bit of both, Thomas. You're absolutely right. It is partly my personal tastes, but it is really also partly the result of discussions with people who come into the gallery. And if people say, I don't like black and white photography, that's not a problem. I've had color photographers I've exhibited in the past. I will in future as well. If someone comes in and says, well, I really like sports photography. I want to see pictures of horse races. I say, okay, that's a personal thing, and if I found something, or if you find something and you want me to get hold of it, I can do that for you. But I don't think I am going to have an exhibition of horse racing, because I don't think that there is a wide audience of people who are going to put pictures of horse races on the walls in their next to their dining room table. Mm-hmm. It may be a prejudice of mine, but that's what I believe.
David, I have a question for you. So assume I have a warehouse of black and white artistic landscape pictures. And I want nothing more in the universe than to put them in front of you and you know, get that conversation started. How do photographers begin a conversation with you? What do you want to know? What do you want them to bring to the conversation? I mean, how does this process work of me getting you interested in the work that I'm doing?
Good question, Scott. Thank you. I think we start by, look, I'm 68 years old, so I'm the wrong person to start someone off in their photography career selling photographs. So I would say to people, who are you as a photographer? Have you sold your work before? Where have you exhibited? Do you have ambitions to exhibit and sell? Do you have plans where you want to be in the next 3 years? I would like to see something unique, some unique artist identity, so that you can sort of stand up on your own and generate interest, which I can try and turn into sales. You need to have some story why you are unique, why what you're doing is different from what other people are doing. It doesn't matter that you as a photographer are not a brilliant marketing person. That's what I'm here for. But you have to have the story on which I can base my stories. Does that answer some of your question?
Oh, no, absolutely. Just nuts and bolts. How do you prefer first contacts? Do you want somebody to email you and say, here's something?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some people call me, some people turn up at the door, some people send an email. I'm open to talk to everyone, because don't forget, I'm quite young in this business. People have come to me and they've said, well, I've been knocking on galleries' doors for 5 years, and most of them don't even bother replying. And when they do, it's just a one-word, two-letter answer, which starts with N and ends with no, with O. And so, you know, there's no explanation. So I don't know. I just like talking to people. So I'm more than happy if anyone gets in touch, and I will tell them what I like and what I don't like so much about the work, and ask them to whom they think they should appeal to whom they think their work does appeal, and why. If they need to be somehow authentic and unique. And it's difficult to be completely unique because usually it's the same in music. You know, there are 88 keys on a piano and they've all been used in different variations. You can still write new tunes, but you know, the elements are all there. And if someone has already sold something, they will have a better idea of who they've appealed to and why and what it is about their work. And maybe they've never had an exhibition in Germany, or maybe not in this part of Germany. Some of the people that for instance, Rachel Talabot, who's quite well known in the UK, I'm the first gallery in continental Europe. So if she has inquiries from anyone outside the UK, but in the European Union, she'll always send them to me because it avoids all the hassles with import and export and duties payable, and it's just easy for me to send stuff. So sometimes I'm a bit more like a warehouse than actually a gallery.
Talk to me a little bit about being an international gallery, but also having, you know, a kind of sensitivity to where you are, because I think, you know, somebody could send you a lovely, competent, you know, wonderful collection of images of North Dakota wheat fields, and that would not play in Germany at all. I mean, even though you know, everything about the images is wonderful, it's just not there for you. So but then again, you got stuff on your wall that's not from your neighborhood. So how do you balance an understanding of market with an understanding of aesthetics?
A good example is one of the photographers I exhibit here is Roman Lorenz. Mm-hmm. Roman went from Poland to California in 1982 as a political refugee, and 85% of his images are taken in Central Valley and Northern California. And there is something artistic and different about them. Your example of North Dakota wheat fields, yes, that would be a little bit difficult here because we don't have anything. Within most of Europe, there is nothing like that. You'd have to go much further east to Poland and Ukraine before you get to that kind of expansive wheat field that you're talking about. And so there is no immediate emotional appeal. Now, why is there an emotional appeal to photographs of Central Valley and Northern California rather than wheat fields? It's because of the story behind each image, the story behind the photographer, and the fact that more people from here are likely to have been to California, and it therefore reminds them, maybe they haven't been to the place where some image was taken, but it reminds them of something, either where they have been or something that happened in their childhood. So there's an emotional connection. Even if they've never been, you know, on some rocks outside Carmel on the ocean in California, that doesn't matter. They've seen wind, they've seen sea, and they have been to California.
David, let me jump in here. I would like to kind of, you know, we have some people in the room, possibly, you know, I don't know exactly everyone's stories here. Maybe some of you already exhibited, most maybe not. Some of you possibly interested in exhibiting, you know, and in approaching a gallery for the very first time. So I would like to kind of break down this process, you know, from the photographer's perspective of applying, you know. Let's say it's somebody, you know, it can happen after our evening today. You will get some applications from some of the names you see on the right side of the screen. So what the person would have to exactly do to approach you in a quote unquote official way. Of course, they can now email you and so on, but you know, like a standard kind of submission of work to a gallery these days, I can imagine there is some kind of a set of rules or kind of set of steps which a person should follow these days, which is widely accepted, by galleries, generally speaking. So what would it be if I wanna try having my pictures hang in Galerie Taunus?
So I think there are a few issues, and I don't want to speak for the whole gallery world. I've only been in this business 2.5 years, so others have been in it for 35 years and they know much more. But for me, it's about the story of the photographer and the history. Where have they exhibited before? Where have they sold before? Do they know who has bought their images and why? Have they been in other exhibitions, joint exhibitions? Have they ever exhibited in museums as well as galleries? It's their identity. What makes them special? What makes them stand apart? So what I don't have is just a list of checkboxes. I have there's a list of questions we can ask, but we've been through the important ones, and it's not as if everyone can answer those questions there. Well, immediately, okay, well let's organize an exhibition for in 3 months' time. We'd have to spend some time looking at the images and determining which are the ones that we think, for one reason or another, are more likely to be sold here. They may not be the same ones as someone has bought in Brisbane in Australia.
Any chance for a person who has not exhibited before, who has not sold any picture? I mean, everyone is starting at some point, and there is this first time. What then? What to do? How to approach the very first gallery? Even if it's a smaller one.
That's why I said earlier. Listen, I'm 68 years old. I don't think I am the right person to start someone's career off. Having said that, I've been the first gallery to show Daniel Dencescu's pictures of starling murmurations, which you featured in the recent frames. So we met completely by chance at an exhibition that he held in a small town near Frankfurt Airport in the city library. And I saw some of these amazing images, and they were they weren't framed. They were stuck, the paper was stuck on glass little divisions between areas of the library. And I said to Daniel, hey, I think you've done some amazing work, but sorry, this is the wrong place to show them. And so we got friendly, and he ended up coming to me here in the gallery as part of this monochrome perspectives, multiple black and white exhibition. So to go back to your question, how do you get into a gallery? I think the most important thing is stories and personal connections. So yes, get in touch with me by all means. We then have to figure out where the images are produced. I mean, I want to sell physical images, and so if you're outside the European Union, well, there'll be things like import duties, and then I'd have to add framing costs and things like that. And so we have to figure out pricing. Pricing is an interesting thing because I don't determine prices. Photographers determine prices. I have it contractually agreed with all of them that I never want to hear a phone call from someone saying, hey, I found this image 30% cheaper in Singapore. They have to be the same price all over the world. The only difference can be either VAT, so sales tax, and or the cost of a frame. That can be the only difference. Otherwise, it really needs to be the same price.
But once more, I want to rewind. So sorry, I'm kind of pushing this button.
Yeah.
You say stories, you say experience, history, possibly maybe already some other exhibitions and, features of the work. In the very end, you look at the images and you, as a curator of your gallery, you like them or not, right? This story can be amazing. The career can be great, but you hate the images. So, of course, the final decision belongs to you, right? In terms of if you are hanging them on your wall, right?
No, if I hate the images, I won't. But if I don't like the images, but there's a great story, that's fine. It's not that I love all the images that I exhibit here. No, the story then becomes an even more important. I mean, I haven't mentioned the fact that I don't want to sell open editions. I only want to sell limited editions because I'm trying to become known as an art gallery. So I don't want to have a reputation as a postcard salesman. When I was opening the gallery, some friends talked to me and said, "Oh, I know this great photographer. You must look at his pictures." And I said, "Well, where has he sold before and how much for?" And they said, "Well, he's never sold anything." I said, "Well, okay, if this gallery is successful, I'll do something. I'll open a second gallery under a different name and we'll have your friends' pictures there. But I don't want to try and establish a reputation and then dilute it by selling prints for 25 euros.
Yeah. In terms of limited editions these days, are there any trends, any kind of, what are you seeing in terms of, kind of images you are exhibiting? How many prints per editions are photographers preparing?
It's interesting because I see American photographers tend to have larger editions than continental European ones. So American photographers, 40 to 50 is quite normal. Some European photographers as low as 5 in an edition.
Okay.
And that 5 will cover all sizes. There may only be one size, but it will cover all sizes in that edition. And I guess the more famous ones have smaller number editions. And the other thing one can do with pricing is, and this particularly applies to two of the photographers I'm doing here, to Roman Lawrence and to Rachel Talabart. Rachel has an edition size of, I think it's 12, and Roman of around 40. Some are 35 and some are 50, but let's take 40. The last 10 of those 40 will be considerably higher priced than the first 10. And with Rachel, numbers 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 are the same price, but from number 7, it goes up.
Okay, so the less copies remaining, right? The price goes up.
Yeah, exactly. That's increasing scarcity makes. And so some people say, well, I don't want number 1. I want number 12 of 12. I said, well, fine. it's more expensive.
Interesting. I had Scott. Go ahead. You have any question? Sorry, I'm kind of jumping in.
No, I'm listening to this and I'm just mesmerized because, like everybody else, I really appreciate it when my work is on the gallery wall. Tell me another nuts and bolts question. I tell you a great story. I show you a bunch of digital files, saying, here's what I'm thinking. Do you print them? Do you handle that part? I mean, I know you get involved with the framing, but do I need to send you the physical print, or is there a shop there that you really like? Because you and I are a little bit away from each other.
Good question. So we had exactly this issue with Rachel's prints. With Roman, I don't have the issue because he has his own darkroom at home and he develops and prints everything because it's all analog. And in his edition of 40, if you put, he would never print 40 images at the same time, but if you had 40 images next to each other of Romans, you would see that they're recognizably from the same negative. But what would be different is that one is lighter, one is darker, the white bits are whiter, the dark bits are blacker. One will have some more sepia toning. One will have less sepia toning. Why? Because Roman believes that each individual print is a work of art on its own. Now, with Rachel, she didn't want to send me and go through the whole customs stuff. So we found a printer, an excellent printer in Potsdam, which is just outside Berlin, who has printed for some quite well-known photographers. And she experimented. She sent him high-quality TIFF files. He then sent them to me here in Bad Homburg. And so there was no import duty and EU regulation stuff to worry about. When she came over for the vernissage, for the opening, and I had the prints a few days earlier and I put them in frames, I took them out of the frames so that she could sign the prints. She was really stunned, in awe of the quality of prints that this guy in Potsdam had done. And they had, they'd spoken on the phone, but she'd never seen his work. So she was happily surprised.
Were you nervous in, this situation? I mean, can you imagine the artist is coming, she's seeing the prints for the very first time, So this moment must be a little bit exciting.
It is, yes, because at the gallery she uses in England, she prints herself at home. However, she also has a gallery just outside Boston. And so she's used external printers before because she has the same issue in the US as she does in the rest of as the European Union. So she sends a printer in Massachusetts the TIFF files.
Just quickly, sorry, Scott. Just quickly, if anyone of you, watching has any kind of questions to David, please, now would be the time. Start, raising your hands, meaning clicking on the icon at the bottom of the screen. And I'm sure you some of you must be thinking about exhibiting. So, and you probably have questions we haven't asked. So go ahead, Scott. Sorry, you go ahead now.
Well, no, if you could say a little bit about the community that you're developing, the people that come in once a week, every couple of weeks, whatever. The community of patrons, the community of customers. Do they help direct your curatorial interests? Do they say, hey, I other than horse racing, knowing what you're interested in. How influential are they in your choices?
If I had 10, 20 years experience, I could give you a more well-founded, a bigger well-founded answer. What I can tell you is that so far, those who come when I have an opening or an event or a closing event, some of them come because they know they're going to get free alcohol. And it's still nice because,
I've heard of German wine, so okay.
Yeah, we have some very good, when I tell French people that I live just next to the doors to the greatest white wine growing region in the world, they say, what, you are living in France now? And I say, no. I live near Rheingau in Germany, where they make the world's best Riesling. And they said, Riesling, no, we cannot drink that. Apologies to any French people that are on the call. This is not at all an insult. Sorry, what was the question again?
And how does the community of customers and patrons influence, the gallery?
They do, because when customers come in and you talk and they tell you a bit about, look, if they're customers, they bought something from you and they obviously like it, otherwise they wouldn't have bought it. So you know which direction their tastes go, but you spend time talking to them to discover what interests them, what else is it. I mean, for instance, I have someone came in last week and he couldn't spend long here because he was just going out to dinner with his wife and they were late for the table they'd booked at a restaurant, but they spent just 5 minutes here and he saw Oliver's images of the Frisian Islands. And it just turns out that his son has a country house on one of the Frisian Islands, and he goes there every summer and spends a long time. He said, I have to buy one of these for my son. I'm thinking, great. So I'm hoping he's coming back next week. And there was not so much of a rational or emotional connection as there usually is between a customer and an image. It was just because his son is somewhere and he wants a picture of the island. So you never know what it is that is going to sort of tickle someone's fancy. That's why it's so valuable to spend time talking to people and find out not what their weak spot is, but what it is they're really sensitive to.
Wonderful. We have Stephen in the room. Hi, Stephen. How are you doing?
Hi. Hi, Mark.
David. It's David.
Hi, David. Sorry.
It's okay.
You must be getting it a lot, right, David?
It's okay. Don't worry.
Okay, good. David, I have two questions. One is, again, a nuts and bolts question, and I don't know how much you are aware of the practices in the gallery world at large, but when a photographer sends you examples of his work, do they, or any gallery, do they send physical prints or a presentation of files or a collection of files or a hodgepodge attachments in an email? That's the first question. The second one is about the operation of your gallery. How do you get people into the front door? How do you advertise? How do you make yourself known in the community?
So I'll answer the question, I hope, in the order in which they're asked. If they're local, then they're quite welcome to bring round physical copies. But otherwise, I would hope that they can send me some JPEGs. They don't really need to be high quality JPEGs, or they've put together a PDF which tells a bit of their story, has some images in it which illustrates the story they're trying to tell. So yeah, it can be something as basic as whatever it is, a 6-page PDF. It doesn't need to be some massive work. With respect to gallery operations, I've done a number of things. I have taken part in a few art fairs around here. I also went to, last November, I went to Paris Foto because I know it's like the world's largest photography trade fair, and I was just bowled over. I've never seen so many amazingly so much high quality photography in 2 days as in Paris. And then I inquired about exhibiting there next year, but they have quite high standards and criteria, and one of them is that you must have been in the gallery business for 5 years before they'll even look at you. And the other thing is the square meter price of having a stand in Paris is vast. So you have to be fairly certain that you're going to sell a substantial number of images before going to do that. So that's trade fairs. Otherwise, there's a lot more local marketing, which I do. I get in touch with a lot of the local newspapers and magazines. So you saw that I showed you before the feature in frames, which contains Daniel's image. So there's a German magazine called Schwarz-Weiß, which means black and white in English. They did a whole, the editor got in touch with me about 4 months ago because he's on my mailing list, and he saw the images of Michelle Maddox, and he just calls me out of the blue and said, David, I really like her images. I'd like to do something with her. So I sent them both an email and said, here are your phone numbers, email addresses, get in touch with each other. And then I heard nothing. And literally 10 days ago, I get a copy of Schwarz-Weiß through the letterbox. And not only is one of her images on the cover, but there's a huge long article about her inside, which also mentions the gallery, which I thought was lovely. I do events at least once a month, so that's obviously when I'm doing an opening of an exhibition, the artist is here, or there'll be some other excuse to do something, because events gets people into a gallery, and if you have more people in a gallery, it's, you know, they talk to each other, and everyone who comes in is a potential multiplier. They all have friends to whom they talk. One other thing. Sorry, one more thing, and then I'm done with this. In Bad Homburg, we have a gambling casino. And this casino was founded in the first half of the 19th century by two French brothers. In 1866, this area of Germany was taken over by the Prussians, and the Prussians closed down everything that had the word fun in it. And so these two French brothers, who had started the casino here, they went off to this very obscure place that was only reachable by sea on the Mediterranean, and their second casino was the one in Monte Carlo. And so this was their first one. The first one was here. So it's funny, because the management of the casino had been on my mailing list for 2 years, and a few weeks ago, one of the managing directors comes in here and says, well, we have an art exhibition once a year. We don't get involved in sales, but we want to provide our walls for artists. And we've decided that we're going to do a black and white photography show this year. So one of the photographers I represent will be exhibiting 20 of his images in the casino from sometime in early May. So you try all sorts of different routes and vehicles to I don't know if that's answered your question, Stephen.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. And if I could ask two more. One is also a nuts and bolts question. When you exhibit a photographer, how long does the run last? How long does the exhibit last? And the next question is perhaps confined to galleries here in Europe. I live in Lucerne, Switzerland also. But what is the commission on the sales in galleries?
So how long do the exhibitions last? When I have had solo exhibitions, they've always lasted 8 to 12 weeks, say 2 to 3 months. Mm-hmm. I currently have this exhibition, Monochrome Perspectives, which has been going on since August last year, and it will end in July this year, which is multiple black and white photographers. And so every couple of months, there's a new black and white photographer. So that, but they join, you know, they're part of this series, if you like. And the second question was what's the monetary split between the photographer and the gallery?
Yes.
Is that what the question was?
Yes.
So if you just take the basic cost of the image, which is before sales tax and before framing, that's split 50-50. Mm-hmm. Then you need to add the cost of frame and sales tax. So that has been, when I got into this business, I didn't know about this, but I have a couple of friends who run galleries, and they've run them for a long time in England. And I went and spent a long time with them, talking to them, and they told me that seemed to be fairly standard. So if you have something that sells for, I don't know, whatever it is, 1,200 euros here. Take off the sales tax, you're at around 1,000. Take off another 100 euros for the frame, and you're at 900. Then you'd be splitting the 900 50-50.
Okay. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Stephen. I will read out. We have a question from Van. I'm so sorry if I don't know how to pronounce the first name. She is, it's late at her place, so she just dropped a question to the chat. So she's asking about the multiple different sizes of the small editions, So I guess she's asking about the prices for each, and so basically she's asking about the sizes of the editions, I guess, and different sizes of the prints. You mentioned before that very often photographers create an edition, right? Limited edition, which contains multiple prints of different sizes. Is it correct?
Correct. Yes.
Is there some kind of also like a trend, or trend? Let's say. I'm looking for a better word. But,
some photographers, because they've been in the business a long time, they only have one or two sizes, and the whole edition will only be available in one or two sizes. Others, like Conrad, whose images are behind me in this room of snow and mountains, he will do multiple sizes. So I've got some of his prints on alu debond here, which is 60 by 90 centimeters. There are some that are slightly bigger than that, about 65 by 95, and some which are much smaller, which are about, well, the ones you see on the wall behind me. That is, I don't know, it's about 25 by 35 centimeters, and that there will be. I think he does series of somewhere between 35 and 45. There will generally tend to be more prints available in a smaller size than in a larger size.
Mm. And Peter, go ahead.
If it hasn't run out, if the whole edition hasn't run out, but the larger sizes have, but there are plenty of small ones still available, well, maybe since the edition hasn't run out, maybe the photographer will do a larger one. We'd have to talk.
I'm trying to bring Peter on the screen. He has a question also about the, I guess, popularity of those sizes. Wait, let's see if Peter wants to join us. In the meantime, I have another question. If you could share with us some kind of an insider information on the actual fact of running the gallery from a technical standpoint. What are the challenges there? Because maybe some of our viewers will be thinking about opening one in the future. Location, temperature, humidity, security, insurance. Is it much headache to run a gallery even of your size?
It's actually surprisingly not, but maybe it's because I'm in a relatively not crime-free, but a relatively low crime area. So I don't have to worry about security. I don't have alarms here. I tell every photographer, and we have it contractually agreed, that the insurance here does not cover retail cost, it recovers replacement value. So whatever, if something is stolen and I can claim it off insurance, it'll cover the replacement cost, which is basically the printing cost. And so that's what images are insured for. The physical challenges of running a gallery are the following. When I first came in here, there had been a gallery here for a long time ago, but the gallery owner died 5 years before I came in. So that's about 8 years ago. And they discovered that they had a damp problem because when I came in, there were lots of bare bricks on walls. What the previous guy who ran the gallery here had done was painted bricks with latex paint. This meant that the bricks could not breathe. So they had a damp problem. And you can see on this little wall behind me here, if you look down at the bottom, just where my thumb is pointing, it's in front of bare bricks. So that what you see there's white there is actually plasterboard, which allows the bricks behind to breathe. And I put that up. All the lighting, well, you can't see the lights from looking at the screen, but I put up really, really good lighting here because that's essential. That took a couple of months to organize and install, but it's all on track, so I can move lights around. Buying enough lights, it's a one-off expense. It's fairly expensive, but then you have it for years.
David, how far out in advance are you booked?
At the moment, I'm actually booked only until July. However, there are 4 photographers that I want to exhibit after July. We just haven't signed the bits of paper. So I would probably say that, and assuming dates work, and that I can exhibit one after the other, I would probably say until and so Easter next year, roughly like that, or maybe a bit later, we're kind of probably full.
Great. Hi, Reed.
Hello, David. I have a couple questions. The first one is, you spoke about the large edition runs in the United States, and in addition to that, the trend seems to be towards larger print sizes, significantly larger print sizes, and wondering what your experience with that is. And then the other thing I wanted to ask was, do you have any feeling among the people that you've sold to whether they are buying them actually to hang and display in their homes, or they're buying them because they're collectors? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. For sizes, American walls are bigger than European walls. And so you can have larger size, generally. There are lots of big houses in Europe as well, yes. But generally, European walls are likely to be smaller than American walls. And so with the exhibition that I'm about to have in the casino, their walls have dictated the sizes of prints that we're going to exhibit there. On 3 of the walls, we have to have huge prints. So they're 1.40 meters wide and 1 meter high. 1.40 meters is I think is about 5 feet, 5 foot wide, and 3 foot high.
Yep.
The others will be considerably smaller because that's what the walls at the casino will bear, and also they're more likely to fit in European walls. Sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Do you have a feeling as to whether most of your customers are going to buy the print to actually hang on their wall, or do you have people that are buying prints to collect?
Sorry, yes, that was the question. So far, and I've only been in this business 2.5 years, it's to put on the wall, definitely. I tell stories about art, and I tell stories about art so that people can enjoy art. And so art to me is something that you want to smell, touch, feel, taste, and enjoy. It's not something that I want to put in a drawer if you want to buy art because you think it's going to go up in value and you're interested in reselling it, I think that's a very good reason and perfectly justifiable. But I would not see it as my goal to offer people financial advice. So the odd photographer here has said, David, what can we do about pricing? I say, well, you know, because they want higher prices. And I say, well, listen, you dictate the pricing. I just add local tax. But I know where you're coming from. You want higher revenue. The best thing you can do, if you're already fairly well known, the best thing you can do is die. And it may not
I've stopped. I'm no longer listening to you.
No. I mean, what it means is your wife and your dog will benefit from the additional revenue, but you won't, because if you look at the history of artists and especially photographers, if they're well known and then they die, prices really do go up. And that's happened over the last, I don't know, 50 or so years. But so far, I have not sold to collectors or for collector purposes. I'm sure they are there, but maybe I haven't had enough of them coming in here. I'd love to find more.
Those buyers, you know, the buyers you happen to sell some prints to, what kind of people are those buyers mainly? Is it like, you know, average middle class kind of citizens, you know, interested in adding some kind of interior element, you know, nice pieces of art, photographic art to their apartments?
That's exactly it. What I would love to do is to be in better and closer contact with some of the larger companies that are around here. And I'm slowly getting in touch with them. But that's quite difficult because people come in and say, oh, you have to be in touch with Deutsche Bank. I say, yes, I have heard of Deutsche Bank. You know, I used to work in finance. But tell me give me the name and the phone number and the email address of the person at Deutsche Bank who is responsible for all the interior decoration in all the offices or in the canteen, and then I will speak. Oh, I don't know that person. I say,
and then you have to wait. And then you have to wait another 10 years till they decide to redecorate their canteen, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe, but at least you get the contact. Yeah. So that's a big challenge.
We have Peter online. Hi, Peter.
Nice to Thomas.
See you again. You have a question, right?
Yeah, I think Reed has mostly asked. They're just wondering about the popular sizes that buyers go for. I guess it's really based on your response. I would say in Europe there'll be smaller sizes. And what are the typical sizes when you say small?
So I guess the sizes that I have sold images of here they vary between, let's say 30 times 40 centimeters would be the smallest size, up to about 50 by 70, 50 by 80 centimeters. So it varies. That's the rough price range. Not price range, size range. I'm sorry.
Okay,
go on, Peter.
Okay, thanks, God. Just one last question. Do you have international buyers, or they're mostly locals in your area at the moment?
Mostly they're locals, but I have had some. I have exported to Los Angeles, to Minneapolis, and to Miami. These are generally customers who somehow follow photographers on various anti-social media, Instagram and others. and they have been in touch with the photographer, and the photographer has then put them in touch with me. That is, if that photographer does not already have a gallery in the US. I also sold something recently to, I think, Czech Republic. Yeah.
What is the population of Bad Homburg?
Oh, Bad Homburg is small. I mean, it only has a population of about 35,000 inhabitants. So it's not about just the inhabitants here of the town. It's the surrounding area. This is an area where the wealthier people who work in Frankfurt live. And so that's why I'm here.
So yes, I was wondering.
The thing to consider we're having a gallery is you've got to be, if you want to attract people in here, you have to be in an area where there are good places to eat and drink nearby. I think that is quite important, because you're going to get people coming in, and you're not the only reason they're coming to you. They need to go and have a good meal or something good to drink close by.
Yeah, I was wondering about it because I just read somewhere another story about a photography gallery in Poland. Some, a young photography enthusiast opened basically in a village of maybe 2,000-3,000 people, and he's having a success. He's having visitors. I mean, definitely taking the percentage of people interested in buying a print in this very village, he would maybe find 1 or 2 customers on top, right? But he's exactly working on marketing, on spreading the word, and so I guess, and it's not even a touristic place. So I was wondering if Bad Homburg is in a way a touristic place, or local tourism, like you mentioned, restaurants, maybe nice area for a weekend for people. Is it important, or you? Sorry, just to to continue to the question. Or is the quality of a gallery enough, regardless of its location, and it's basically then mainly about your good marketing and reaching out to clients and potential buyers, and they will come, whenever you are located, wherever you are located.
I wish that were true, Thomas. It's not. You do have to be in a good location. I could rent a couple of containers in an industrial zone next to Frankfurt for a fraction of the rent I pay here. But it would be very difficult to attract the kind of customers that I'm interested in to come to a location where I could decorate a couple of these places really nicely, but it would be difficult to attract people there because there's no other reason for them to go there. So I think it's important to be in a nice place. And what I didn't add earlier, I did mention that we're going to have this exhibition of Oliver Miller's images in the casino here. Now, the reason that we're doing this is because the casino has 400 to 500 people every night. Now, many of them are repeat visitors, so it's not 400 different people every night. And they also have one huge room which is full of slot machines. I'm not interested in them. I'm interested in the people who are going there to play blackjack and play on the roulette tables. And in those 3 halls, that's where we'll have the images. What I want to do is get 1 or 2% of those visitors in the casino to come to the gallery. That's my intention. That's why I'm doing it there. And so I'm trying to explore other similar opportunities to spread the wings, if you like.
How important do you think, or what kind of impact you are seeing in in displaying your offering online on the website? And are you also actively working on sharing the link to the website on social media or anti-social media, as you like to call it, and so on? How important is the website for a gallery like yours?
I think the website is important. I am everything in the gallery, so I have to do all the marketing. I'm not 35 years old, so I'm not technically the most gifted person here. So I run the website, and it is in every email, it's on every invoice. Every time I send anything to anyone, there's always links to a website or the gallery or a gallery of the photographer on the website. So I do try that. I don't have a website, a shop on the website. Many galleries whom I know do not publish prices on websites. I don't know why that is, but they don't, and so I've just followed their lead. There are some galleries that do, but many do not.
David, this has been incredibly fascinating. I do have one more question, and that has to do with after a show closes. Do you have a back room? Do you keep some stuff for that? You know, even though somebody's show is no longer on the walls, they can still come to you to get that physical artifact?
Absolutely, yes, and especially for some artists who are not resident in Europe. They don't want me to send stuff to them. They want to keep it here because they're using me also as a warehouse. So if I'm just not having them on show at any moment, they can still have. I still have prints here which I will store, and they're all safely and carefully stored. And it means that if there is an inquiry from someone for a print, it doesn't have to be for a print that I do have. It means that I can get it from that photographer, and they can send it to me, and I just function there as the warehouse, and then pass it on to the end client.
Oh my! Well, I mean, this has been more than an hour. This has been a deeply fascinating conversation. This is the kind of, and I wish you the kind of luck that everybody who's listening to this now and listens to the recording gets in touch with you endlessly, because there's a lot of good work out there, and you've got a brilliant place to display it. Yes, sir. You look like you got a point.
One more point. You and Thomas have seen a presentation that I did, and we've been through quite a few of the points. It's fine for me if you put that presentation, you know, as a link next to the recording or something. There's nothing. There's no state secrets there. You know, everyone can.
Absolutely, I will do it. The replay, you know, for those of our members who were not here with us, the replay, I think it goes automatically up, you know, online. Will be available tomorrow, and I will add the link to, you know, to download your presentation, the PDF file, so everybody can have it. And so thank you so much for sharing it. Scott, thank you so much for co-hosting today.
My pleasure, as always.
David, once more, all the very best. Good luck with whatever plans you have with the gallery. You know, I hope you will be visiting your second location in Hamburg a couple of years.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you so much for allowing me the chance to tell a little bit of my story, and it's been a great privilege for me. And thank you, Scott, for asking pertinent questions, and to you, Thomas. And excellent photography belongs on paper.
Yes, we are on the same page, right? So thank you so much for everyone for watching. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, night, and we see each other next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.